This podcast is brought to you in part by P&P Games, your online source for everything video games. Visit their website at pnpgames.com or at one of their 3 retail locations in Winnipeg, Manitoba. All right, everybody, and welcome to what we're calling the Super Bonus Stage podcast, because I'm horrible with names. This is episode number 53. As always, I'm your host, Lloyd Hannison, and joining me, Will Kelley. Will, how the hell are you doing?
Awesome. I like how you changed the show name on the notes, like, as you were saying it. That was pretty impressive.
it was changed in the title of the document on Google Docs, but then I realized the actual heading at the top of the document didn't have it. It's like, oh, I should maybe change that so I don't get screwed up as I read it. And sure enough, I was going to get screwed up as I read it, so I was just in the nick of time.
I was impressed. You held it together, and I think you moved forward quite well.
Oh, that's awesome. So this is the bonus stage, or what used to be known as the bonus stage. This is the podcast that start out, actually, this is the third name, the third title, the third, pen name, we'll say, of this show. It started out as These Dudes on Games, which was a horrible name, but it was just something that we kind of threw out, and I got together with Jeff Ward, and we kind of did These Dudes on Games, and then we had some we were doing the show for 8 months, 9 months, whatever, and then the radio show got canceled that he started, which he called the bonus stage, and he was kind of depressed about that, and I was upset because I had just started doing the radio shows as well. And then I said, well, why don't we just call this the bonus stage so we can kind of keep things the way they were. It's still These Dudes on Games, it has a different name, and he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we did it. And then he left the show at the end of last year. So now this is the third iteration. And I didn't want to call it something new because the people that are subscribing on iTunes are probably already really, really confused. Because it's like, I subscribed to These Dudes on Games. They did the bonus stage. Now what are they doing? So the simplest thing that I could think of is call it the Super Bonus Stage for now, because the Super Nintendo was the second iteration of the Nintendo home console. It kind of fits. The music is kind of retro, chiptune-y. We like the retro stuff. We have a new super co-host, so it kind of fits there as well. So I don't know, Will, what do you think?
I like it. I mean, so it's kind of like the third generation, right? So it's like, in console terms, it could also be referred to as like the or
the bonus stage 64.
Yeah, there you go. Bonus stage 64.
That would be good.
To make it more current, bonus stage 1, but that just seems really, really, really confusing.
That doesn't make sense at all.
No,
it's confusing. No.
And we don't want it to be bonus stage 3 because that is weird too. Yeah. So I like Super.
We could just call it BS. The BS3, which is almost like the PS3.
I like that. And then, if we ever get tired of talking about video games, we can just BS the rest of it, right?
That would be good. We could do Coffee Talk, which is Tony Sadowski on Twitter, one of my buddies online. He wants to do a Coffee Talk episode because we keep going back and forth about this joke. So we could just turn BS into like just BSing over coffee, and it would be great.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Brilliant.
All right. So that long rambling preamble gets us to Will. You've been on the show before, but maybe people haven't heard about you or who you are or where you come from or what your favorite color is, or do you like long walks on a beach? So Will, welcome. And who the hell are you? Tell these people.
So you basically just lay it all out. You want me to... I don't want to give away all the secrets, but I do like long walks on the beach, especially at sunset. Good. And I don't always have to be bought dinner, so that's a good thing.
Wow. That's great news. That's great news.
In all seriousness, I'm so excited about the show. I have been a video game enthusiast all of my life, and I pride myself in kind of staying up with the news of each sort of console generation, just kind of gaming in general. And we actually met through another podcast of mine, which is very specific in nature. It's video game related, as in the form of Disney Infinity. But I'll be honest, as much as I love that game, I am so excited to talk about something other than that and a little bit more broad. So this is going to be awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that you're here, Will. I enjoy our talks and our long walks on the beach, although I have been buying dinner, so now I know I don't have to do that, which is a really, really great thing. But yeah, I think this is going to be great. Like whatever the name becomes, if we do change it down the road, I think it's going to be awesome to get together two like-minded gamers, and well, actually not like-minded. You like a lot of things I don't like, but you know what I mean? Like to get in with someone else and start just BSing about video games is going to be a really good thing. So I just want to say thanks for joining me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. And you know, it's funny. You can always kind of tell, like sometimes I feel like when we're talking, we should just press the record button just randomly, because we go on these video game discussions and it's just perfect for a podcast. And it's like, no, we got to keep all of our material, fresh. So we got to focus and wait for the podcast, but sometimes it's just hard. So I think it's going to be good.
I kind of, before when I used to do the DS Life podcast with Edgar first, way back in the day, we're talking like 2005, 2006. We used to do this huge, like there wasn't live streaming. So we would just record what we were recording. And we would talk for like 3 hours sometimes before doing the show, because we were just wanted to hang out and we were just chatting. And I kicked myself so many times for not recording that whole 3 hours, because it was oftentimes a million times better than the actual podcast that we put out. So I kind of wanted to kind of live stream my whole entire life. Although I'm a really boring person, so no one would want to watch, but it'd be really cool to have, like, be able to say Xbox, record that while I'm talking and go back 5 minutes and record my conversation that just happened. That would be really, really awesome.
I think that's a Kickstarter right there.
Yes, it is. That would actually probably do really well. No one would use it after it came out, but I'm sure a lot of people would want to buy into that. The 5-minute rewind button for everything that you do in your life.
Definitely.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get into the meat of the show. As you heard, to kick it off, all the shows on the network, the VG Podcast Network, are brought to you in part by P&P Games. They're a great local game store here in Winnipeg. I'm located in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So you don't have to be a Winnipegger to shop at P&P Games. You head on over to pnpgames.com, and they have a huge collection of retro and current games on their website. The reason why I like them is because they are the little guy that aren't so little anymore, because they have 3 stores. But they started out as hobbyists that just wanted to bring video games to the masses, and they do a really damn good job of it. So check them out if you're looking for any retro games. If you have a collection, if you want some NES or SNES or Sega Genesis or Master System or you name it, they got a lot of complete in box, loose carts, you name it, from all the old game systems all the way up to the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So please do check them out at pnpgames.com.
Well, and I love how they have a great site, and I love all of their retro stuff, because that's the type of stuff that, as longtime gamers, we really, really love. And even if it's just to collect, and there's few places out there now that have that available, and I love that. You actually turned me on to them from the show.
Well, that's awesome.
And I was stoked to find out that they have an online store.
Yeah, they're great. They're everybody that works there is awesome. I just love going there and just chatting games with a bunch of people that aren't working at a big corporation that rhymes with blame blop or EB blames, depending on what part of the world you live in. So it's really cool to have some more independent game sellers here in Winnipeg. All right, so the format of the show is going to be switched up quite a bit. Jeff and I did kind of the talk about what we've been playing for anywhere from 10 minutes to 2 hours, and then get into the news and reviews and stuff like that. We're going to be changing things up. First, we want to take as much listener feedback as we can get. So you can get in contact with us a lot of different ways. vgpodcast@gmail.com is our email. You can email in your questions or send in audio or video questions that we will answer or play. If you send in a video question, we will play it for sure. That is just one of the things that we will promise you, unless it's really horrible. And then we won't. So I said for sure, except if it's horrible, so that doesn't make sense. You can call our voicemail line, which is area code 505 VG Podcasts. And we do know that is too many letters, but just stop dialing after the A and you will be fine. Or you can reach us on Twitter. I'm at DazMe on Twitter, and Will is at Iliam, ILIAM on Twitter. And we want to hear from you guys. We want to interact with you. And we have some big plans for future game sessions where we're going to get together with the community, pick a game, play a game, talk about it, do some live streaming. We want to kind of, create a small little community of like-minded gamers here that love listening to podcasts, love playing video games, and want to interact one night a week with other people. So if you have any ideas about that as well, do shoot us an email, vgpodcast@gmail.com.
Hey, Lloyd, can I tell you a little story about that?
Yeah.
It's an embarrassing one for me.
Okay. Well, you're laying down on a couch, just kind of lounging. So let's chat. Let's BS a little bit.
All right, perfect. So after, we did the brainstorming for the super bonus stage a couple weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. And we were chatting with people in the room, and Prometheus from that night actually added me on Xbox One, and I was talking to him on Xbox One via messages one night, and I was like, hey, my buddies and I were going to do, we're playing Forza, and we're starting kind of our own just friendly league to race and keep points and kind of just have a little fun like that. So he's like, I don't know how good I am, but sure, why not? So anyway, we haven't gotten to the league part yet, but one night all my buddies and I were sitting there playing Forza, and I just noticed that Prometheus is online, so I sent him an invite to come play with us.
Sure.
He wiped the floor with all of us, and none of us, we're not experts, but we don't feel like we're that bad. Prometheus, I had fun that night, but I am not going to invite you to any more races, because I think out of maybe like 10 races, we beat him once, and that might have been because we were kind of teaming up and just needing one of us to win for our pride. So
you've been banned, yeah. Prometheus.
Yes, you're too good. But it was really cool because I generally don't like. We talked about this last time, but I generally don't like to play with people I don't know online. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool, kind of playing with someone from the community, even though they again wiped the floor with us. But it's always fun when you can do that, because kind of know what to expect, and that it's going to be just a good time, and you don't have to deal with all that other stuff that you do in public lobbies.
So you two listening there in podcast land can embarrass the hell out of us in one of these community game sessions. We're going to figure out slowly how this is going to evolve. We're not sure how it's going to start. I guess I got to get a current gen console, since I just have the last gen stuff, except for the Wii U, I guess, is current gen. But we got to figure out something that we all have, pick a game and just do it and have a lot of fun while doing it. So I think I got to pick up a PS4 this weekend if I can find one somewhere. I gotta bite that bullet and actually get it done.
You're just waiting for it. But don't forget, I have a PlayStation 3 too, so we always have that option.
That's true. We could jump in and do some of that stuff as well. So cool. Awesome. Well, let's get into the show. I'm going to start out with a shout out. We're not going to do this each and every week, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out to something that I really kind of like, and that is a new Kickstarter called Outerlands Season 1. This is basically a Kickstarter that is being done by Area 5. If you're not familiar with Area 5, they were a bunch of videographers that worked for oneup.com way back in the day. When OneUp kind of got sold and shut down, they were basically... oops, that's not right. They basically were the only ones that kind of went out on their own before things really went bad at OneUp. A couple of people got laid off, a few of other of them left, and they started something called Area 5, which is a kind of a video creation company. They did the OneUp show way back in the day. They continued that in another name after, and they've done a lot of stuff for other companies. They did some Forza videos for, I think, Forza 4, actually. That's the last one, right? It's Forza 5 now that just came out, correct?
Correct.
So they did Forza 4 and maybe some Forza Horizon stuff. And they've done a lot of other things as well. But they're starting a new project called Outerlands Season 1. They're looking to raise about $200,000 to film 6 one-ish hour television-style documentary episodes on the people and culture of video games. These guys do amazing work. They're awesome. I wish I could do video like them. I wish I could do video at all, but if you see some of the stuff that they do, it's awesome, and I want this to succeed. So they have 3 weeks left. They've raised about 100,000 of the 200,000, give or take a little bit of change there, and I really think this is going to be a really great product. So if you are like me, a big fan of documentary style programming, things like Indie Game the Movie, which was done by some local videographers here in Winnipeg, or 100 Yen, which we talked about on the last actual bonus stage podcast. This is going to be another great series similar to that. So if you are into the Kickstarter thing and you want to throw them a $25 pledge to get the digital download of all 6 videos in 1080p HD, please go and do so. We'll post a link to this Kickstarter in the show notes. I would really like personally to see this one succeed. So if you are into the same type of stuff that I am, please support it. If not, don't throw them your money. Just buy something else. Don't do it just because you want to support the show, because this isn't by the show. This is something else. But if you like it, support it. If you don't. Pretty simple stuff.
Yeah, that looks awesome. I love kind of the pedigree of this series. I used to watch the One Up Show all the time, and I was really bummed when it went under. And I love just documentaries in general, but then when you throw in something that I'm as passionate about as video games, then it's just like a home run.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I know they will put out some good video, so I can't wait to see what this becomes. But they need about another $100,000 before it becomes anything. So let's hope that this happens. All right, cool. Let's get into the meat of the show. Each and every week, we're going to start out with kind of one big news topic. We're going to kind of focus on one big item that happened in the last week or so, and then cover some other kind of ancillary kind of news items, some less important to us anyway, items. But this week, we I don't know, we batted around a few ideas, Will, and we came to the conclusion that Xbox kind of is the big news story of the week. So, or I guess not just Xbox, Microsoft is kind of the big news story of the week. So let's kick it off with some really great news from Microsoft. According to the NPDs, the Xbox One was the best-selling console in the US for December of 2013. Good thing. You're a big fan. You have an Xbox One. This is good for you. You like
this is good. You know, I'm an Xbox fan primarily, and it's been the general consensus that Sony has taken the early lead in the whatever current / next gen race, and so I think this is really good. We even talked about it a couple weeks ago and how Sony came out with their numbers first, and then Xbox response to that was some really stupid.
People killed 5 billion zombies on our platform.
Exactly,
which is ridiculous.
And that, Xbox or Microsoft has been fighting an uphill battle since their announcement, really, and that battle has been directly with Sony. And when they do stupid things like this, sometimes you scratch your head and you're like, what are you guys thinking? So it was about time they had a little bit of good news come their way. Yeah,
it was really good because earlier in December, Microsoft said, we've sold about 3 million consoles. And then about a week later, Sony's like, yep, we've sold 4.8 million. And everybody's like, well, Microsoft only did 3 million. Sony did 4.8. I mean, that's a huge difference. Or whatever those numbers were. They're around that. I mean, it was 3.4 and then 4.8. And then for the NPDs to say that almost 4 million Xbox Ones were sold, that is a really great number. That's really good for Microsoft. This report, these NPDs actually forced a Sony response to say that the reason why we didn't do better is we sold every available PS4 at retail. We cannot make them fast enough. They sell out faster than we can actually produce them. If we had more stock, we would have sold many, many more. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the way business works. If you don't have the product, you can't sell it. So maybe you should get on that, Sony, if you want to have the January MPD say that you sold a lot, or if this is going to be your excuse for the whole console generation, maybe you should just stop saying it right now, because we don't care.
Yeah, well, and that's my question to you, Lloyd. Do you think why do you think this is? Do you think it's because there were more Xbox Ones on shelves this holiday season?
Yeah.
Do you think it was most popular, or what?
Yeah, I definitely think that's what it is. I've been sort of looking for a PlayStation 4 for a while. So I go to stores, I check it out. I've seen probably about 30 to 40 Xbox One sitting on store shelves. So I'll go to the Best Buy and I'll see them there. I've never seen a PlayStation 4 yet on store shelves. If I did, it would be not on the shelf anymore. It would be in my entertainment center, because I would have bought it and been playing it. So there definitely is a constraint for the Sony product. Or they sell quicker than I can get to the store. Either way, they're not there for me to buy. Which is a good thing for Sony, I guess. It's kind of like the Wii. When the Wii first came out in 2005 or whatever that was, you couldn't find them in stores. You would go to a store, they would have 10 Wiis. One person would stand there with them all in their hands and phone 9 friends and say, "Dude, they got Wiis!" And everybody would fly down there and pick them up because they were so hard to find. It would be good for Sony for that to happen. But then it's kind of a dual-edged sword, because they have another console that is like nipping at their toes. So they can't do like the forced short supply thing with this, because then Microsoft is going to have these great news stories saying, yeah, we sold more than Sony. I guess they were out for 1 week longer, but hey, we're selling more. Maybe their product isn't that great. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution for Sony is, other than turn on the PlayStation 4 making machine up to 11 and make more of these PlayStation 4s, and then we'll see what the market kind of bears with having ample supply for both products in the market.
Well, and I think it was just a difference in strategy. I think Microsoft was a little more focused, and they chose to release in fewer regions at launch. Mm-hmm. And so obviously in each of those regions, they're going to have more supply than Sony is, because Sony just kind of like shotgun these out to the whole world.
Well, yeah, I think for the first couple weeks, Sony only launched in North America. And then they slowly started ramping up to other parts of the country, or of the world rather. So they did Australia, they did Europe. They still haven't launched in Japan, and you know that as soon as they launch Japan, they're gonna drop 1 million in one weekend. But yeah, it's kind of weird for Microsoft to say we're doing a worldwide launch, but then you look at Sony now, and they're actually available in more countries, which is kind of, I don't know, kind of confusing to me.
It's definitely interesting, and we all know this isn't a sprint, and it's actually there's probably never going to be a clear winner. I mean, at the end of each console generation, you can look at the numbers and see technically who sold more consoles in that generation, but I think the real battle happens with the games, and you know, not even necessarily with exclusives, but it behooves third-party developers to release it on as many platforms as they can, because then they're going to hit all audiences. So
exactly, yeah. Like the winner of the race for the number of consoles sold doesn't really mean anything, because the winner of the last generation was Nintendo. They sold more Wiis than anything, and what did that do for them? The Wii U is kind of sitting in a corner crying, saying, "Why didn't you love me? You loved me before." So yeah, I mean, who cares if the games aren't there? You're not going to sell consoles. So hopefully, whatever these sales are, 4 million of each of them in a little over 2 months is huge. That's 8 million consoles that people are playing games on. You got to be, you don't have to be a genius to know that, like, game developers, big companies like EA and Activision are basically just like tenting their fingers and planning whatever shovelware games and other great games they're going to be launching on all these consoles. But they know that this generation isn't what some people had thought it was going to be, which was no one's going to be playing games on a console. Everybody has a phone. They have a tablet. They have a Galaxy Nexus. They have a iPad. They're not going to be buying a console. Obviously, they've been proved wrong. So now you have all these big developers that are going to be coming out with some great games, and it's win-win for
it
us.
Is.
Depending, it doesn't even matter which console you buy.
And one thing that I found really interesting this console gen launch, and it's something I haven't actually seen anything about, is that the fact that you're actually able to find consoles. And even with the PlayStation 4, I have found 2 consoles in my town. I didn't get either of them because I was lazy or I was forbidden to by my fiance. But the simple fact that if I would have gotten up early enough on a few certain days, I could have gotten a PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. Like you, I've seen countless Xbox Ones in stores, and they're selling. And this is something that is completely opposite of last gen, where they couldn't keep any of the consoles on the shelves.
Yeah.
So that's great for gamers. We're kind of at a point now where they can actually make these things pretty much fast enough to get them in most people's hands. And I know there's still a lot of people out there who want PlayStation 4s who can't get them, but I think if you wanted it bad enough at launch, you probably could have found one that first day or two.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my mistake was convincing myself that, hey, I don't have to pre-order. I can wait months. I'm not gonna be upset at this. I don't need to play it day one. When in reality, I know better that I need to have the new stuff now. Like the new shiny thing, it needs to be mine. And I didn't do it because I was being stubborn. And I kind of really wish I would have, because I would love to be streaming live on Twitch on my PlayStation 4 right now while playing really no games. But I put up with a Wii U at launch, which really had no games. So I could have lived with that for a little while. But
you just wanted to prove yourself that you could do it.
Yeah, and obviously I couldn't. Because I would have bought one the next day if I could find one in stores. So yeah, I'm a weak man. All right, well, let's move on a little bit. We're going to continue on with Microsoft, though. So this isn't just an Xbox One talk. This is Microsoft, which is a story that came out this week that Microsoft has been paying YouTube producers, some of the big YouTube talking heads, to promote their products. So if you are a YouTube channel that has many hundreds of thousands of likes, and you talk about video games, or subscriptions rather, and you talk about video games, and you're part of some affiliates programs with other companies, say through Machinima, Microsoft was basically throwing out a new package that said if you talk about the Xbox One for 30 seconds, they're going to give you an extra $3 per thousand views. So you would already have a deal with them where you get X number of dollars for whatever ads you're running. But then if you talked about Xbox One for 30 seconds, they would throw you an extra $3. And then there were some other ones, depending if you showed footage and other stuff like that. And the internet blew up over this, which is, to me, funny because obviously this is happening. This is how the world works. But there was a lot of people that thought Microsoft really was pulling the wool over people's eyes and were evil. I kind of just thought of it as, yeah, that's kind of how things work on the internet. I don't know, Will, what are your thoughts on this whole internet invented big bomb exploding thing? I don't even know what to call it. It was just ridiculous.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I thought I might have been a little bit biased being an Xbox fanboy, but I didn't see the big deal. I mean, I don't see how this is any different than back when G4 was on TV and G4 throwing up a Microsoft or an Xbox commercial, because that's literally all it is. It didn't sound like it's stipulating talking favorably about these games or the console or anything like that. It's just
it actually did. If people on the Machinima would have read the fine print, there was clear rules for the promotion that they're doing for these things.
Okay. So is it? But I mean, it's not like it's a rigged review.
No. I think what a lot of people have problems with for this, and what I kind of have a problem with too, is I'm not American, so a lot of this stuff doesn't affect me. But in the U.S., there's FCC regulations for bloggers and online reviewers. So if you're provided a product and you're reviewing that product, you have to basically let people know. Because it could be taxable. If someone gives you a car to review and you force other people to buy the car, and it's a turd, but you got a free car, they want to know this. So all of these things are they're non-ads, they're product placement, and none of them are disclosed, which is kind of the huge problem. Although the FCC doesn't really have any teeth, the most that they can do is just kind of say, you broke our rules, fish shake at the screen, because there isn't really a fine for this. But I think if these reviewers would say promotion was provided by Microsoft, and left it at that, people wouldn't really be blowing up, because it's an ad, but it's not a disclosed ad. If they disclosed it as an ad, then there really is nothing to complain about. For me, that's about the only thing that is really bad about this. But there's a lot of people that were basically saying that Microsoft is an evil corporation. So people saying, well, Microsoft doesn't just do it, their EA does it, and they pay better, so we should be more mad at EA because they're more evil. And it's just like, but this is the way the world works. Why do you think when you watch television on cable, there's a MacBook Pro or there's the Microsoft Surface? Because there's product placement, and this is how the world works. But I guess, I don't know. I guess people were more upset because it was YouTube.
Well, I think that's exactly it, Lloyd. So it's not like I am watching Fox on TV, a network that I have no personal fate in. I think as gamers and as people and in this social world that we live in now, we create these connections with these individuals because it's more like us. It's less censored. It's less filtered, and
sure.
You kind of look at them as a peer or more of a friend.
And it's people. Yeah, it's people you're hanging out with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been podcasting for 10 years. I've known people for 10 years, and I've never met these people, but they know me. I've talked about my life. They send me emails. Like, you have these relationships with these people, and I could see that maybe people are getting upset that it's like, well, you're lying to me.
Exactly.
I could see that as well, but for some of the venom that was being thrown around, it's just like, wow, people are really angry about this. I didn't see it as that big of a deal.
Yeah, well, and it's another case of kind of Brave New World and it being something new that we're figuring out. I mean, the next time we hear about this, it's not going to be a surprise, and we're not going to feel as stabbed in the back and shocked, because
for sure.
It's par for the course.
And I guess the good thing that can come from this is going to force companies like Machinima, which really exists just to make money. They're not really out there for the betterment of the community. I mean, when Machinima first started, they were hobbyists, right? Starting, and it was like, let's start a company and let's make these really great videos. Where how about you're the red armored Spartan and I'll be the blue armored Spartan, and we'll do this video together. And I mean, all that stuff was amazing. But now they're just a company that is trying to make money, and they make money by selling ads. And one of the ways that you sell ads is product placement. The other one is actual placed ads. Like at the start of the show, that's an ad. I don't actually get paid for that ad, but I'm supporting PNP Games. We do some trade stuff, and that's great. But I'm disclosing that at the start of the episode by mentioning it. But I guess if nothing else, this might change big networks like Machinima to say, okay, if you are running an ad, even if it is a product placement ad, you're going to have to disclose it somewhere in either your description, or you're going to have to say it at the start of the episode. That's only going to be a good thing for YouTube and a good thing for this podcasting stuff that we do. If people are a little bit more honest about these types of things, I mean, that can only be a good thing. Or nothing could happen because there really is nothing illegal about what people are doing. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe the internet hate will be enough to cause some people to change their ways.
Well, that's kind of been par for the course this last year. Internet hate has changed lots of things in the video game space. So
yeah, big time. And we were saying that in the pre-show, like Microsoft can do nothing right these days. It doesn't matter what they do. They could like give everybody a puppy, and one of these puppies would have this virus and it would get sick and die, and then the whole internet would hate them for giving sick puppies out. Like they can do nothing right these days, and it's just this is just another example of that. They take one big step forward, like, look at our big sales, and then the next day it's like, yeah, you're paying people to promote your product. You're lying to the world, Microsoft. And it's just, I don't know, it's just really weird. It's got to feel really odd to be a marketing exec in Microsoft. Like you just got to be banging your face against your desk or wall, or maybe a sharp object, depending on how high up on the chain you are.
Exactly, because it's constant, and they just can't grab a foothold with anything. And I mean, eventually all of this is going to wash over. A year from now, we're not going to still be talking about DRM with the Xbox One, or how they're, paying network personality or internet personalities to hawk their stuff. It's just going to be, who cares at that point? Hopefully, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous. All right, well, let's move on. Let's get into a couple other news items. I guess one of the other big ones, which was really close to being the big news item of the week, was our Hearthstone has finally entered open beta. Will, have you played Hearthstone? What do you think?
I booted it up tonight for the first time. I made sure that I could get it the other day, but I just haven't had a chance to play it. Lloyd, let me just say, I'm scared of this game, first off, but I am so excited at the same time. And it seems like it was so much fun to play on the computer, but I also can't wait for this to get on the iPad so I can play Hearthstone whenever I want, wherever I'm at.
That's the big thing. Like I was trying to get in the beta forever. Everybody that got a beta code is like, oh, if you get an extra one, give it to me. I want to get in. Finally, Quacko, who's the Jared, who's the host on the Touch of Gaming, got one, and I'm like, he's like, well, just check your inbox. They were giving it out to people. I'm like, I gotta get in. I had one of those activator things, or validators, whatever the heck they're called, tied with my account. I guess when I moved from one phone to another, that got corrupted, so I couldn't even log into my battle.net account. It's like, oh my god, I want to get in and play this game. I had to actually fax them or email them a copy of my driver's license to get that removed, so that I could recreate it and add it back to my account. It was just this crazy thing. And then literally the next day they released the open beta, and I was just like, really, this is what happens. But I downloaded it. I downloaded it pretty much the minute it was available. The first 95% of the download went like super quick, and then I guess the internet found out, and the last 5% took about an hour to come down. It was ridiculous. But I got in and played a couple matches, and you know what? I'm a huge card player from way back in the day. I played Magic the Gathering when it first came out, when it was in like the beta version of Magic the Gathering. I had all these cards, which now would be like really valuable, and I would never have to work again if I would have had all the cards now that I had way back then. But I loved playing cards and battling with these decks of cards. And this kind of takes obviously the cards out of the equation, but it is so much fun. It's a simplified, distilled down to its awesomeness, a card battling game, and I am really excited to get further into this. I'm also really scared for my bank account, because there's the ability to just drop money and get better cards, and then the cards you don't want kind of destruct them and make other cards, and I could just see myself wanting to go, well, just one more pack. Just one more pack. Just one more pack. And then I get a divorce.
Hey, it hasn't happened with video games yet, so fingers crossed. Let me ask you this though: you can also unlock? It's a freemium, but you can also unlock by playing the game, right? I mean, can you? Because there's a gold currency and then there's a real money currency.
That's right.
Okay.
You get
it's
coins.
all beta right now, but
yeah, you get coins for doing quests, and then you use those coins to buy packs. But you can also buy the packs with real money as well, which is one of the things. So, yeah, I've opened a couple packs. I think it's pretty cool. I don't think I'm quite in the place right now where I can build my own decks, but I'm having fun with the kind of pre-built decks that you can unlock by beating people with the various characters. Like you will, I'm waiting for the iPad version because, well, actually, I'm kind of hoping it never comes out because I know my life will be over when it does.
So let me ask you this, because I used to play Magic when I was a kid, but I was just kind of did it for fun. As I was waiting for the game to install, I watched a few of the videos they had. One was a introduction video just talking about, but then another was like an actual overview. And one thing they kept saying in that video was how easy it is to pick up and learn. And for me, I was pretty skeptical reading that because you always hear that, and it never seems to be as easy as you expect it to. This was very easy to learn. I mean, within half of the first game, I was kind of up to speed, at least to a point where I didn't feel like I was completely lost. And then it only took me 2 or 3 more games to really get it down. From your background of playing these types of games, do you kind of feel that it is pretty easy to learn from someone who's not very familiar with the genre?
Yeah, it's dead simple. The ability for you to attack creatures at will, the whole blocking mechanic that Magic has, which takes a lot of getting around to people. It's like, well, I'm going to attack your guy with my dragon. They're like, well, no, you attack, and then I choose to whether block or let the damage go through. Hearthstone allows you to basically attack whatever. Your video is like really messed up. Oh no, there it is. It's back. That was bizarre. That was weird. Hearthstone allows you to choose who you're attacking, and you can't really choose to block. So it takes one of the more difficult steps from Magic out of the equation. I don't know. It's really good. I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft when it first came out. So this has a lot of that feel, obviously, since it's a World of Warcraft product. It's easy to learn. It's super accessible. The fact that the tutorial is really well done. There's voice acting. It's such a really amazing way to introduce people to card battling. My one concern is once people have played a bunch of times with their 9 decks that they have, that maybe they won't want to get into the whole deck building aspect of it, which is probably okay. They'll be the really hardcore segment of the Hearthstone population that will be buying cards and playing like hundreds and hundreds of matches to unlock coins to get more cards, or paying real money to do that. So it's going to be supported by those hardcore core of players, where the more casual people can get in and just battle with whatever decks they want. I think that's going to be great. But from my play with it, I've probably played a dozen, maybe 15 matches. I can really tell when someone has played card games before, because it's a really close match. And someone that is newer, you could see that they take longer to make their choices. They're not sure what to do. They do really stupid moves. And it's like, okay, these people are new to this whole card battling thing. So it's kind of neat to see this, this kind of new group of people get into card things. Because I've played the Magic games for a while online, and there's no newbies playing that. The people that buy it are people that like Magic, and they're people that will just kick your butt because they're way better than I am. So it's kind of weird to be in this new game where I can actually beat people for a change. It's like, oh, maybe I'm not so terrible. And then someone that obviously knows the game just destroys me without taking me even doing 1 point of damage to them. It's like, I'm horrible. Okay, this is not great. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out anyway.
I'm excited. I wasn't too thrilled when they initially announced this game, but it got so much hype in closed beta. I was like, yeah, I'll probably check it out. And then I talked to you about it, and you said it was actually pretty cool and fun and dangerous to your wallet. And so I was like,
dangerous to my marriage. It's gonna be. Yeah, that's good. We had one question in the chat room. Prometheus is asking, he feels left out. Who's developing? What is it on? Et cetera, et cetera. Sorry, we didn't mention that. I assume that everybody knows about it because it's a Blizzard product, and the internet loves Blizzard, but there are people that obviously don't read about that stuff. So my apologies. Hearthstone is a card battler set in the World of Warcraft universe. So it's being created by Blizzard. It's a free-to-play game. It's available on PC right now. You can play it on PC and Mac. They're going to be coming out with an iOS version shortly after launch. It's in open beta right now, with the full 1.0 release coming at some point in the future. But it is completely free to play, which is great. Where that's how it's going to be really great on iOS. It's going to be coming to Android. You'll be able to play it on probably everything. It doesn't even require that new of a machine to play. Although I have a new MacBook Air and it complained when I first ran it. It's like, oh, your CPU is not fast enough to run this. Do you want to do it anyway? And it was completely fine. But I guess my CPU was a lower speed in that machine. But yeah, so it's going to be on everything.
Yeah, and it's pretty for being a card game.
Yeah.
I really like some of the visual effects they've added, and it makes it a little bit more of a visceral experience. But I'm running on a 2009 13-inch MacBook Pro with integrated graphics, and it runs fine on it. So
yeah, it's like I said, it's gonna do probably more bad than good for me, but I'm not gonna be able to stay away. I can't quit you, Hearthstone. It's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, moving on from Hearthstone, let's get into another more casual game that is taking the world by storm, and that is Minecraft. It was announced today that Minecraft sold 1 million copies on the PlayStation 3 in 5 weeks. Just get that in your brain. 5 weeks, and it sold 1 million copies of a game that's already been out for, 4 years? A game that's not even done, because it's not a game that has a release. It's constantly iterating. The version that you're playing on either the Xbox or the PlayStation 3 is actually about 2 years old compared to what was on the PC. It's mind-boggling. But 1 million copies of Minecraft. Will, are you a Minecraft fan?
I have a confession to make. I have never played Minecraft.
My goodness.
Ironically enough, I've been on the fence this last week on getting it on my iPad, and I'll tell you about that later in the show. But it's really weird. I've just never been into these types of games. And the worst part about it, and you're probably going to want to slap me through the internet for saying this, but my biggest complaint with it, and I know it's the charm of the game, is the visual style. This 8-bit style, which I generally love. But for something that's 3D and that you can be really creative and make anything you want, it just kind of detracts from it a little bit.
Okay.
But here lately, it's really ironic because I've really thought about getting into it, and that has nothing to do with Minecraft. It has to do with Rust and DayZ, and this kind of being the original inspiration behind both of those two games, or the genre anyway. So.
Sure. Cool. Yeah. I don't look down on you for not playing Minecraft. Not at all.
Well, I just think this is a case of a game that is just so popular, that and so reasonably priced for what it is that people want it. They want it accessible no matter where they're at. And so I would imagine a lot of the people that bought the PS3 version own it on lots of other different platforms, but they just want it on PS3 as another option.
Sure. I can see that. The one thing about Minecraft is I bought Minecraft way back in the alpha, back when it was terrible. And I played it on the PC, and it was fun. Really a lot of fun, but I quickly lost my my interest in it. And it got better, and it kept iterating, and I heard many great things about it. Never really went back for whatever reason. I have some friends that are super into it, like a good friend at work. We wanted to start a website and a company and do all this fun stuff, and it never got off the ground. Not because we didn't want to do it, but I just didn't have the drive to get in there and install this thing on my PC, because it's Java and my fans on my laptop were going a mile a minute, and it was just like, oh, this is so annoying. and I played it on the iPad. I bought it on the iPad because I was like, okay, this is going to be the time that I get into Minecraft. And it's just no fun doing it on my iPad. For me personally, I don't find any fun in it. So the reason why I wanted to buy it on the PlayStation 3 is because if you have kids that are of a certain age, that is all they talk about. Like my kids' friends at school, all they want to do is talk about Minecraft. They talk about it all the time. And when I would go pick up my son from school, his friends would say, "Oh, you play a lot of video games." I'm like, "Yep." Like, "You do it on the internet." I'm like, "Yeah, I do. My son's been talking. That's great." They're like, "Oh, so in Minecraft, how do you do this?" And I'm like, "Oh, hold on a second. I don't play Minecraft." And they're like, "What?" But that is the video game. and there's like all these like confused little 6-year-olds. And it's like, wow, okay, I'm really out of touch. I feel really old now. But when I found out it was coming on the PlayStation 3, I said, okay, well, that'll be the best way for me to get my kids into it, because I'm a Mac household. I don't have a lot of like PCs. So the Minecraft client doesn't run so well on the portables. I have a lot of laptop class hardware from Apple. So things were not going to be that wouldn't be the best way to play Minecraft for my kids. I could buy a bunch of old, like crappy $100 PCs, which would probably be good enough to play Minecraft, but then I have to have PCs and manage all that garbage that comes around with it. Not that PCs are worse than Macs, but I just don't want to get old stuff and then have to worry about replacing hardware and stuff again. I've kind of moved past that, since that's kind of my day job. I don't want to do it at home anymore. And I was just like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then I was like, oh, maybe iOS was a thing, but yeah, I don't want them to be staring at the iPad screens for too much. But PlayStation 3 was announced. I was like, okay, this is going to be the one. It came out right around Christmas time, so it was perfect. Downloaded it day one, played it, showed it to my kids. They loved it. Left my son with the controller, came back. He had built a small shack, and I'm like, oh, okay. Apparently you know how to do this. You understand this Minecraft thing. I don't need to teach you. It was kind of an awesome moment as a parent. And that's kind of how it started. Like, we were basically playing over the holidays. I was off work, and we were playing for like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, to the point where my wife came down and they're like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm playing Minecraft. And she's like, well, that's fun for you? And I'm like, yeah, it's great. She's like, but you do what? I'm like, yeah, you dig stuff and you get the blocks and you build stuff out of the blocks. She's like, well, why do you play that? How was that fun? And she was like super confused. And then she would come back a little bit later and see that we're still doing it. And she's like, okay, let me play. So I gave her the controller, and literally 6 hours later, she was still playing. And I was like, oh yeah, so how about that thing? How was that fun? What do you do? And kind of throwing that stuff back at her. And she was like, fine, it's a good game. And the funny thing is now is I'll be doing some other work stuff. I'll be fixing something upstairs, and I'll look for Kara after the kids are in bed and I can't find her. And then I come downstairs, and she's come downstairs, turned on the PlayStation 3, and she's playing Minecraft, which is something she's never done. Like, she's always been kind of the game. Like, she used to do that with the GameCube and the Wii because it was in the living room, but she'd never come downstairs to my cave to play video games by herself for the longest time, ever since we had kids. That, like, the gaming kind of left her life because she'd had other things to do. So it's like, holy crap, like, Minecraft has kind of awoken this gaming person again, from back when we first started hanging out before we had kids. So yeah, like, most nights, if I don't have anything else to do, I'm sitting here with my wife building stuff in Minecraft. It's been just this amazing thing. And I'm a Minecraft freak now, and I love it. I'm not a freak enough to start buying a PC and setting up a LAN and doing that stuff that way, but I'll keep it on the PS3. That'll be fun for us.
Well, I think any game that is that universally appealing is that's a win in my book. I mean, anything that you can find that gets the family gaming together, get your passions aligned. Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I don't know. I love it. I was gonna talk about this when we started talking about what we've been playing, but maybe I'll share the story now. One big thing about the PlayStation 3 version of Minecraft is there was this huge bug where if you played multiplayer, there was a chance that your save game would get corrupted. And I didn't find out about it until my save game got corrupted, which made me very sad. We had spent about probably 60 to 80 hours on this one world, building this tower and a castle and these machines, and found this huge chasm and got a whole bunch of really great ore and diamonds, and we're building stuff, and found the portal to the end of the game. So if we wanted to do that, we could have done that. And then pretty much right after finding that, my game got corrupted, and it was just like, what? Why won't it load? And I'm looking at Kara, and she's looking at me, and we're like, okay, all that stuff we just did is gone. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, wow, that really sucks. And I'm just kind of sitting there, kind of staring at my controller with just like a what kind of look. And she's like, okay, well, let's start a new world. Let's do it again. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, just start another world. We'll do it again. We'll build stuff again. I'm like, but you're not upset? She's like, yeah, but whatever. It's like Lego. You just knock it over and build again. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're kind of right with there. It is kind of like Lego. If someone comes and kicks your Lego big fortress down, you just rebuild it. So yeah, we started another one, and then the patch came out this week. I think it was on like Tuesday, and that patch actually fixed my save game. So now I have my original thing that I had been building with my family. So that's really awesome.
That's awesome. I knew it fixed the bug. I didn't know it brought back lost stuff, though. That's really cool.
Yeah, it totally repaired my love for the game. No, just kidding. I still liked it, but it got the save game back that had been corrupted or was marked as corrupted for whatever reason. So super huge thanks go to Mojang and for something studios, whatever 4J Studios, I think it is the development house that does all the console ports. But yeah, it's that's a good thing, because I did a lot of work in that one, and I was really kind of sad for a long time that I couldn't go into my tower and play with all my stuff in my tower. It was just so weird.
It's funny that it just goes to show how jaded we are as gamers, immersing ourselves in games and having kind of the idea of accomplishing something, finishing something, it's baked into pretty much all games except for these open-ended games like Minecraft. And for your wife, it was no skin off her back. It sounds like a lot of the fun is just the building and hanging out, which is awesome.
It was so cute. Like, for the longest time, she would be digging and she'd find this cavern, and she'd be like, I found another cavern, and she'd be so excited. And then she'd go somewhere else, and she's like, I found another one, and she'd be so proud of herself. And I eventually had to say, the game has lots of caverns. That's the point of the game. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, but you found the best ones. There's diamonds and stuff. She's like, well, I guess there's a lot of caverns. They're not that special anymore. So I kind of deflated her. I felt really bad after, because that's not what I wanted to do. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun to actually play console games with her again. Like, she's a huge mobile gamer and stuff. Just after having kids, like, we used to play like GameCube all the time, and Smash Brothers and Mario Kart were kind of our jam, and that's what we would do. And then we had kids, and she got away from the console gaming side. So it's really kind of it's weird to have her kind of bogarting the PlayStation 3 now, and it's like, but I kind of want to play something else. But sure, let's go dig some pits and do some stuff. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Cool. All right, well, let's move on. We'll hit a couple other ones. Let's talk a little bit about Steam. The Steam Machine. There was the big Steam Days, Steam Dev Days. It was a conference that went on a couple weeks ago, and a lot more news about the Steam Machine came out. They said some pricing based on all the different manufacturers that are out there. So a Steam Machine will be $400. It'll also be $500. It'll also be $700. It'll also be $1,000. It'll also be up to $4,000. So in other words, it's a PC. It's not this big thing. I don't know. I can't get excited about this. I don't know. Will, are you a Steam Machine freak?
Originally, I was super stoked about the idea. The concept, or at least what I thought the original concept was really interesting to me. I want the opportunity to play PC games just a little more easily than it currently is for me. And the Steam box sounded perfect for that until this happened. I mean, I think they missed a big opportunity, and it sounds like Valve didn't want to really limit what manufacturers could do with these Steam boxes, but it's just the point is lost now. It's no longer, like you said, now it's just a PC. And
Yeah.
before, if you have a small range, maybe 2 or maybe even 3 SKUs, or not SKUs, but configurations, then you have a few different price points. It's all simple because you're buying one and you're going to be able to do what all the other 3 are going to be able to do, just maybe different graphic levels or whatever. And this completely deflated me and my excitement for the Steam box, which kind of sucked.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. To me, it would have made more sense for Steam machines to be something that Valve would sell. There would be maybe 3 configurations. There'd be the $400 one, the $600 one, and the $800 one. And then they could still do the Steam OS thing, give it away so that Alienware could come out with dual booting Windows 7 and Steam machine or Steam OS booting machines, which still play all these games. But for it to be kind of a competition to the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, it really has to be its own thing. Now it's just another OS, really. It's not a thing in my mind. It's not another console, which to me kind of takes away some of the magic. I thought it would be really cool to go to the store, buy the $400 Steam machine, plug it into my television through HDMI, and play a lot of the PC games right on my television. I could do that now. I could take my laptop, I could put it into boot camp mode, I could plug in my DVI to or my Thunderbolt to HDMI adapter and plug it right into my television, grab a PlayStation 3 controller and bind it to my PC, or I could just plug in a USB-based Xbox 360 controller, and I pretty much have a Steam machine that's playing Windows games. Like it's not a new thing to me now, so it's lost a lot of that. What could have been magic, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think at this point it's going to be up to the bigger manufacturers in the form of Dell and Alienware, Origin, and a few people like that maybe generally specialize in gaming PCs, because they do have some configurations in that lower price range, and if they market those appropriately, then I think it could still, no pun intended, but it could build a little steam and make it a success. But we'll see. I guess I'm just not as excited as I once was.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same way. I was kind of stoked for it. I didn't know if I was going to be sold on it, something that I would be picking up, but I was at least excited about it. Now it's like, all right, it's a thing. I don't PC game right now because I don't really want to manage that whole PC infrastructure thing. I don't want to buy a PC to play games on. I mean, I have enough stuff to play with consoles, and this kind of lost its excitement for me.
Well, and I think it was deliberate by Valve. They repeatedly said, I mean, look at their kind of dipping their toes in the VR space. They've said they don't want to be a hardware manufacturer.
Yeah.
That's not what they want to do. And so I get that maybe, with their partnerships and stuff, they didn't want to limit them.
Yep.
But is that necessarily best for the consumer and best, again, for what they were trying to accomplish with this? It's kind of like the every man's gaming PC, right? I mean, that's kind of the idea behind it.
Yep.
At least that's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. It was going to be kind of like the damn the Microsoft kind of thing. Like Windows 8 sucks, so let's come up with our new solution. And they came out with this big idea for their own OS, which was going to be free, and you'd be able to play games, and it was based on Linux, and they were going to give developers some easy tools to port their game over. And it was just like, oh, this is awesome. This is a great idea. But it became something that I'm not 100% interested in. So, but we'll see where it comes. The other big news item is that Alienware's announced that they're going to be coming out with every year with new Steam machines. They're going to be revving their models every year. So it's kind of a new console, I guess. I don't know. It just, if I'm not building a gaming PC right now, this isn't exciting me at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that actually is also more bad news for me, because I go out and I buy a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One for $400 or $500 right now. I know that the console more or less is going to be the same console in 5 years, or at the end of this console generation. I don't feel like I'm ever going to really be behind. I mean, they'll have iterations, they'll slim it down, I'm sure. But a new, like, having last year's model every year is kind of...
Yeah. It's
I
like
don't
the
know.
Ouya.
Yeah,
That's exactly
exactly.
what it is. Like you buy the Ouya and it's like, oh, Ouya 2 is coming out in 9 months, so save your pennies.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
but that's $100.
That's true.
That's a little easier to swallow.
That's true.
Uh,
Actually, the ironic thing is there's probably going to be a Steam OS version that you'll be able to run on the Ouya because it's just an Android tablet based system that obviously isn't a tablet. It's more, I guess, a phone or whatever. But it runs Android, so you're going to be able to basically download the Steam OS and somehow install it on this device and hook it up to your TV and then do the streaming stuff, because one part of Steam OS is if you have a gaming PC, you can do streaming from your PC to your Steam box. Of course, there's going to be lag and other stuff, but yeah, that would be kind of the ultimate ironic thing if people are buying Ouyas just to turn them into cheap Steam box receivers or Steam OS receivers. That would make me kind of giggle a little bit.
that would be hilarious.
Cool. All right. Well, let's jump ahead. Let's talk about EA. They had a huge announcement this week, or I guess later last week, that the game that was forever going to be an online game, and it was baked into the game design and the kind of the architecture of how this game was done up, which is SimCity, is now going to have a offline patch. I don't know, Will, SimCity fan, are you?
I was until I bought the game and couldn't play it for the first month or two.
I was the same way. Actually, I was even more stupid. I bought it after it was already unplayable, but before the deal for if you bought it and you don't like it, you can get a free game. And it's like, oh, I kind of want to play Dead Space 3, so I'll buy this now because I'm going to want it anyway, and I'll get a free copy of Dead Space 3. Yeah, that's a great idea. Which I didn't even play Dead Space 3, so it was just a waste of money for me. But yeah, I was a huge SimCity fan way back in the day, the original DOS version, playing on my Super Nintendo, playing SimCity 2000 and all that stuff. This game, it's too small for me. Like, just a small little world that you're dealing in. It's just not my kind of SimCity, I don't think.
Well, here's my whole issue with this entire thing. It's not even the fact that the game was unplayable. It's the fact that that is a common trend these days. And, gamers, we're not stupid. We're not unintelligent. Just because we sit in front of a TV and we like to use our brains to figure out stuff and interact with a TV screen doesn't mean we're dumb. And these big companies, EA is one of the worst at this, but they keep trying to pull the wool over our eyes and telling us things that are just blatant lies. And in the case of SimCity, is that all of this processing and simulating, it had to happen off-site on their servers and not on your local machine. And it's just, and they've said multiple times, even after being criticized for that feature in the game,
Yeah.
But they're like, you know what, the game would not be possible. Our vision of the game would not be possible otherwise. And it was a lie. And yes, they say they had to, I'm sure they had to do some re-engineering on their parts, but I think that was just figuring out the handshaking piece of authenticating with their servers and stuff.
Well, yeah, like right after launch, a hacker was able to force the game into offline mode just by changing some text files on his copy of the game, and it wouldn't phone home. And he's like, it's perfectly playable. The only thing that wouldn't update was the commerce between sections of the world. So if you wanted to have his sharing of electricity from one world to another populate, he'd have to go online, and then the population would all happen, and the exchange of energy for money would happen, and then he could go back offline again and still play the game. It's like, well, you're just lying to us now.
Right.
Not only is it possible, you can do it right now, and then you could just make the change for the other stuff and have that simulated in the background. Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of the start of the gamers are stupid announcements. And then Microsoft had their press conference about, yeah, it's online and you can't share games, and that's fine, and you're going to like it, and you're going to buy your games, and you can trade them with friends, but only once, and all that stuff came out, and then there's a couple other things that happened around the same time. And it's just like, wow, every major corporation thinks gamers are idiots. It's nice to see some of that stuff kind of reverse.
Exactly. And, if you're going to do DRM, label it DRM. I mean, if that's the reason, it's not going to be an easy pill to swallow, but at least, you're not lying to your consumers and your customers, which are going to affect future sales. And it ends up making the experience horrible for the consumer. I mean, granted, it wasn't. Diablo 3 was another one that had a miserable launch, and they weren't offloading their simulations, but it was a DRM system where you had to log in to essentially have a single player experience. And
right.
I don't know. I mean, I think DRM is for the most part, it's here to stay, and I think we're going to become more comfortable with it over time. It's just going to have to be a fact of life, but you can't just do it. And if you are going to do it, you can't just lie about it. And I think, again, that's the sticking point with this whole story.
Yeah.
I wasted that money because I had such a sour taste in my mouth. I just decided, you know what, it's not even worth my time to go back and play, which is a real shame because, like you, I was really excited about it. So
yeah, and at the end of the day, you had to install Origin, which is horrible. So that's
Origin. You're already kind of like, yeah, exactly. You're already like, I don't know about this. I'm gonna have to go through. I was talking to a buddy of mine today about Titanfall.
Right.
And he's a PS4 guy, and I was like, you should wait for an Xbox until there's something you really want to play. And I was like Titanfall ... And then he's like, yeah, but I could get that on PC. And then he's like, but then I'd have to go through Origin. And we both were like, yeah. Xbox One.
Yeah, exactly. I like Origin can't even keep my copy of Simpsons Tapped Out logged in without annoying me. So I don't know if I want to trust them with my digital purchases.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's do one more. We've already been going for about an hour and a half, so we have some games to talk about. Let's do one more story, and I'm going to leave it to you because I can't even look at this. And that is the documentary Kaz Pushing the Virtual Divide. What is it? I know what it is,
okay.
But why don't you tell us what it is? Because I can't watch it because it's on Hulu, and Hulu doesn't like us Canadians. I guess we're too polite, and we eat far too much poutine for them, and they just don't like us.
I'm really, really sorry to hear that. The good news, though, is that real soon it is coming out on Netflix. Hopefully you will get Netflix Canada.
Cool.
But worst case, Amazon Video.
Which we also can't get up here.
Oh, then should not have. I really want to talk about this, so I appreciate you let me talk about it for a few minutes. So
I'll play some Vita while you talk about it. No, just kidding.
So Kaz Pushing the Virtual Divide is a documentary, and honestly, I don't know who did the documentary. Judging by its timing, though, I think it makes sense that it has something to do with Gran Turismo 6. But this is a documentary that I fell in love with. I saw the trailer for it, and I got really excited about it. And I watched it this last week. I finished watching it last night. And let me just say, I was thinking about this when we were talking about the series earlier, the Outer Lands series. This documentary was perfect. So I am kind of a car guy, and I'm obviously really into video games. And this was the marriage of both of those perfectly. But it wasn't just as straightforward. Kaz is, I'm really sorry, I don't know his full name, but
Kazunori Yamauchi. I think that's how you pronounce his last name.
So thank you. He is basically the creator of the Gran Turismo series, and he is kind of the head of that entire series. And it's the story about him and the game. And it was really interesting because it was about cars, it was about this person, and it was about video games. But Gran Turismo, for anyone or basically any Forza is kind of the same way, but it's more than just a game for a lot of people. It's this lifestyle, and it's this thing that is kind of baked into who they are.
Right.
And they did just an amazing way of presenting that to maybe people who aren't car people. And they did that by talking about kind of the technical pieces of the game. For example, the meshes on the cars and kind of the polygonal structure of the cars, which I'm sure most of you have seen that, where it's kind of just like a skeleton. And how they kind of conveyed that to the audience was talking about something having nothing to do with video games, nothing to do with cars, they interviewed an origami artist and someone who makes origami art, really sophisticated origami art. And this guy's talking, and he has just a sheet of paper on there, and he's just making these tiny folds. And he's saying you have to make all and he's making a fold and then unfolding it, making a fold, unfolding it. And so he's saying you have to make all these folds before you can make it into the final product. And it was a perfect metaphor for the digital recreation of these cars. And they had a few different segments like that. And it was just such an interesting documentary. It was extremely well shot. One thing that blew me away is that it had to finish editing this last week or very near to it. And the reason I say that is because they reference the Detroit Auto Show, which was last week, in the past tense. So I don't know if they shot the few last scenes this last weekend and edited it together and then sent it off to Hulu. I have no idea how they did it, but they were talking about the auto show in the past tense and some unveilings that had happened. And
nice.
It was an awesome documentary, and I recommend it for anyone who is interested in documentaries and video games. If you're interested in video games, you're going to love it. If you're not and you're interested in cars, you're going to love it. And if you're half interested in either, you're going to it was amazing. So
yeah, I definitely going to want to check this one out because he's a bit of a crazy guy. He's the guy that gets $1 million cars into a sound studio so he can make the engine whine at a certain RPM while downshifting sound exactly like it would in real life. It's like, but that is a very specific thing. But okay, let's mic up the car with 1,000 microphones and figure all this stuff out. Yeah, he is like the freakiest of car freaks, which I guess is a good thing when you work on a game like Gran Turismo.
Well, and I knew he was a driver, but he's a professional driver. And so you really know he's the people making the game know what they're talking about.
Yeah, one of the perks, I think the only reason why he started this game was so he could actually take really expensive cars to all the tracks that he was ever wanted to race and actually race expensive cars on those tracks.
That's awesome.
For research.
That would not surprise me.
Yeah. So funny.
One thing I really found interesting about it was the history of the original Gran Turismo and how it was actually created in the background of another game. There was it was back in the day, it was original PlayStation. So the popular games of the time were these kart racer or arcade racers.
Yep.
And that was kind of the path that led them to the game, and it allowed them to create the game. But while they're making this really cartoony and really just kind of random arcade racer, in the background of that, they're playing with physics and they're getting the modeling correct and how the game's actually going to work. So when they finally got the green light, they were ready to hit the ground running. So that was really cool here. I never heard that story that, literally kind of within this other game, this arcade racer was the early stages of the original Gran Turismo.
No, that's amazing. I really want to watch this, so I'm going to find some way to get my hands on it. In the chat room, they're saying Netflix and PlayStation Network. So hopefully it'll be on Netflix Canada. If not, there's ways that one can watch the US Netflix while in Canada. As long as you're paying for Netflix, you can do that. It might not be 100% legal, but it is possible. So maybe I'll have to look into that because I really want to see this. He's just a freak, and I love watching videos about really crazy people because they do. Oftentimes, they do some really amazing things.
He's charismatic too. A lot of it was subtitled, but it was really cool, kind of getting a feel for his personality.
Nice, cool. I can't wait to see it. Thanks for bringing it up and making me feel really jealous, Will.
You're welcome. That's what you live in the paradise known as Canada, so I got to make you a little jealous.
I get free healthcare. You get to watch a documentary about a guy that races cars. So, I mean, yeah.
That's a toss-up.
Yeah, it's kind of equal. All right, cool. Well, let's take a break away from the news and let's talk a little bit about some of the games that we've been playing. In previous iterations of the show, we used to spend hours and hours and hours talking about games. Let's keep it a little bit shorter, but this will be kind of the section that we do our reviews in as well. So when we have a game to actually do a real review on, we'll be doing it in this section. But we thought, let's do it at the end so we can get some of the newsy news out of the way and do it that way. So, Will, what games have you been playing recently on all your consoles, handhelds, mobile, tablets, toasters? If your toaster allows you to play Snake on it, what you been doing?
So I'll pare down my list a little bit, but the first thing I want to mention, and a lot of you out there are probably going to think I'm crazy, I finally finished and beat Skyrim. Awesome game. Yep. I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls series. I can't wait for Elder Scrolls Online. And I just kind of stopped playing this game. And the reason for that is I foolishly bought it on PC. And like Lloyd, I'm a Mac person. And so for a while I was boot camping it. But the reason I really wanted to bring this up is because I found a new way to play this game that actually works surprisingly well. I've been using Parallels 9 to run my boot camp instance of Skyrim.
Nice.
And I kid you not, it works phenomenally. I have the settings set to ultra, and I am still able to play it with probably averaging 30 frames a second. And so I just want to let those know that those folks out there that have a Mac, the newest version of Parallels 9 is plenty capable of playing a lot of PC games. And I'm not going to be as scared off for some of the Steam sales now because I feel like this is an option to play some PC games. So
nice.
That's exciting.
Nice. That's good news. I'll have to look into that. I think I'm a VMware guy because I use VMware at work, but I might have to get, I think the latest version of Parallels I have is version 8. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, and I was a VMware guy before this, running Fusion, but I read someplace about Parallels 9 and Skyrim, and someone asked if they'd use it, and I was like, there's a trial, I should just give it a shot, and I was blown away. So definitely worth it, because I felt like Skyrim is kind of a benchmark game. It's still, even though it's a couple years old now, it's still pretty intensive on systems, and so I figure if it can run that, it can run a lot of things. So
I have like a free copy around here somewhere. I got this pack that came with Windows 8 and Parallels on it from Microsoft, which was like $20 or something crazy. But shows how much I really wanted it because I can't even find it. I don't even know where I put it. Yeah, it's not there. Yeah, I'll have to look for that. I'll see what version is on that disk or that USB key, I guess.
It's worth it.
Cool.
So the two other things I wanted to talk about real briefly is I've been still playing Forza 5 and Battlefield 4 on my Xbox One.
Okay.
And not that this is anything special, but I was thinking about this the other day, Lloyd, and I know you are someone that can appreciate this because you, like me, are just a gamer, and there's so many different things to play out there. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I have to just experience a game just so I can move on to the next game because there's so many wonderful experiences out there.
Yep.
Do you kind of feel like that?
Oh, yeah. That's why I do the show, because I get to talk about lots of different things and have an excuse to go and play many different things.
Well, it's awesome, but at the same time, I feel like I don't always give certain games the respect they deserve.
Sure.
Because, I can only give so much attention to them. Yeah. Well, one kind of good thing about being an early adopter and having a system that has no games on it is I'm really having to focus on the few games I have. And I've gotten so much more enjoyment out of specifically Forza 5 than I ever thought possible, simply because I have nothing really more to play. And the same goes for Assassin's Creed 4, which is a masterpiece. I just booted it up again the other night, had a few minutes, I've already beaten it, so why not give it a shot since there's so much to do in that game? So I guess that's one good thing about the lack of games in the console.
Yeah.
The next console gen. So, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about, I know this isn't an iOS gaming show, but it's kind of console related. So I went into your chat room on the Touch of Gaming a while ago and asked if you guys had jailbroken your iDevices. And the only reason I jailbroke my iPad this time around is because I knew a certain app was going to come out, and that app came out.
Does it work? That you don't have to tell me what it is. Does it work?
It works phenomenally.
Oh, I'm jailbreaking my iPad right away. I'm going to do it tonight.
There's this older app called Blutrol, Blutrol, and it allowed you to connect a PlayStation 3 controller to an iOS device, and then remap the touch controls to the controls on your gamepad. It worked okay, but it's having to convert kind of this analog to digital signal, and it just wasn't as accurate as I would have liked. They said that and it's not updated for iOS 7, but a new app called Controllers for All came out this last week, and it did what I was hoping the Blutrol update was going to do, and it basically turns a PS3 controller into the MiFi controller. So MiFi stands for Made for iPhone controller, and it's basically it's part of the API of iOS 7 to allow physical controllers to be played with these games. And Lloyd, it is amazing. It works seamlessly. Like I boot up a game, and it recognizes that I own a MiFi controller, and it says looking for MiFi controller, or no, it actually says looking for PS3 controller. I press the PS3 button, and it syncs instantly, and I am up and running.
Damn.
And I have gone back and played and enjoyed so many more iOS games that I played for 5 minutes and just got frustrated with the controls in the last week than I have probably since I've owned the system. It was well worth the $2 for the app, and it has made like all of these games so much more pleasurable to play. I've even thought about taking some of the first-person shooters online and giving them a shot now, just to see, how I would do with a physical controller. So
nice.
Definitely should do it. So it's kind of console related. I have a PS3 controller in my hand, so I wanted to mention that.
Cool. I really want to do this, and I gotta have to look into how to jailbreak my iPad now. I used to have to jailbreak my iPhone because that's the only way that I could actually use it in Canada before it was officially released here. And I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with jailbreaking ever since. And I've sworn that when iOS 7 came out, it does everything I want it to do. I'm never gonna have to jailbreak again. And then I heard this thing came out, and I'm just like, oh, damn it. When I thought it was out, it's pulling me back in.
And literally, like, that was the one feature, because I feel like the OS itself has kind of gotten pretty much everything I wanted from a jailbreak.
Sure.
Except for this. So the good news is it literally takes 5 minutes. It's a single button press to jailbreak now. It's as easy as it's ever been, so it won't be a headache.
The evasion or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that and get it done, I guess. And it's like what, $2 for that controller app, something like that. So yeah, I got to do it. I'm gonna have to do it so I can talk about it on the Touch Gaming podcast.
You totally should.
Nice.
I was gonna try to jump on last night just so I could tell you guys about that.
Cool. If I don't get a chance to do it between now and then, maybe we'll have to have you on as a special guest to share your experiences on the Touch Gaming show. Actually, we're not doing a show next week, so that doesn't even work. Never mind.
What about you, Lloyd? What have you been playing this week, or the last couple weeks, I guess?
I've been playing this guy, which is kind of weird because this used to be Jeff's thing that he would talk about. He'd talk about playing the baseball and all that, and the Call of Duties and his normal stuff that he would talk about on every show, playing MLB The Show. I've been playing not that on my Vita, but I've been playing a lot of my Vita because a couple weeks ago, Sony had a sale called 14 for 14, where there was 14 games available on the PlayStation 3 and 14 games on the Vita that were at ridiculously cheap prices. So I picked up a stack of games. I think I got 6 games in total, and I spent like $25 or something ridiculous. But what is it? I picked up Sly Cooper Thieves in Time for the Vita for $6.75. which is just hilarious. I picked up The Walking Dead, the complete season 1 on the Vita for $5. I already owned the whole season on my PlayStation 3, but I was like, I kind of replay it. I want to replay it one more time. So I picked it up on the Vita, and it was $5, not $20 as it should have been. Mm-hmm. I picked up another Vita game. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, so that doesn't help anybody. But yeah, I was just like, these sales are too good to be true. I also picked up Puppeteer on PlayStation 3 for $7, which is a game that I had reviewed on the show and said it wasn't really worth the $40. But for $7, my kids liked it enough for me to pick it up and just have it on the PlayStation 3. I picked up Rain for $3.75. Like $3.75. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
There was other games. I picked up Crysis 3 for $5 as well, which is a game I always wanted to play, but I didn't want to pay full price for. It was $5 and was like 10 gigs to download. So I paid 50 cents a gig for that game, which was kind of a nice little thing. I smiled to myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the sale was ridiculous, but I picked up a lot of games on the Vita. So I've been playing Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, which is actually a game I wanted to play on the PlayStation 3, but I never picked it up just so I couldn't find it on sale or used or whatever. But I picked it up for, like I said, $6, $6.75, and I've been really enjoying it. I love Sly Cooper from way back in the day. I picked up the Sly Cooper anthology disc and played through a bunch of those on my PlayStation 3, the HD remakes, so that's been fun. But it's nice to jump into a new Sly Cooper game and play that on my Vita of all devices. It's been really cool. This game is kind of set up in such a way where all your missions are kind of like these little bite-size experiences that take anywhere from a couple minutes to maybe 10 minutes. So it's been my perfect. I'm on coffee. I have 15 minutes left on my lunch hour, and I can just pop in, play something really quick, clear the brain, and put my Vita away. So it's been really a lot of fun. So I've been spending a lot of time with that. Trey in the chat room is asking if I bought Stealth Inc. And you know what? I totally forgot to pick that one up. That was actually on my list of a game I wanted to buy, but I never did. That was like $4 and I never bought it. And it's now back up to its normal price. So I'll wait for another sale since I don't want to pay full price when I could have got it for $4. So unfortunately, no, Trey, I didn't buy that one, but I will at some point. Also on my Vita, a new game came out this week called Ollie Ollie, and it is a how do I describe this? It's Tony Hawk Pro Skater if it was an auto runner, yet better than Tony Hawk has been, except for maybe like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. It's a really amazing little game. It's if you have a PlayStation Plus account, it's $10 to pick it up. And it's amazing. It feels like you are playing Tony Hawk, but you're playing 2D and it's an auto runner. So like you're always moving forward. Basically what the game is it's these little missions that are small little bite-sized missions. And each of these, or I guess worlds or levels, we'll call them levels. And each of these levels have 5 different missions that you can complete in them. And each of these levels have an end as well. So if you can skate from the start to the finish successfully without falling on your face, you unlock the next level. And if you complete all 5 of the missions on each level, it unlocks a harder version of that level. And if you defeat all of the harder versions in that specific world, and each of the worlds will have like 5 levels, you unlock the rad mode for that level. So it's adding difficulty on top of difficulty and difficulty. The thing that is so ingenious about this game is it's an auto runner. So like Cannabalt or other ones, you're always running in a direction. This one, you're always skating in a direction. And to basically, I don't know, compete in the game and do things, you have to do tricks, and you pretty much just do tricks with your left analog stick. So to do a simple ollie, you just hold down and then let go of the analog stick, and you'll do a little ollie in the air. where this is different than Tony Hawk is you don't just land from an ollie and then go about your business. There is a second part that you have to do for every trick for it to actually count and not screw you up. You have to hit the X button just as you are landing on the ground. So if you do an ollie and don't hit any buttons, you'll get you'll get like a poor score. You'll get like maybe 1 point, and you feel shame. But if you do an ollie and then hit the X button right before you hit the ground, you get the full point score that you normally would. You don't have to hit it when you're like a pixel above the ground, but if you do it when you're like really close, you get a perfect landing, and then you get even more points. So I don't know. Did you ever play Tony Hawk, Will?
Yes, back in the day, I loved it.
So, like, if you were like me, you would find the perfect line in a level, and you would try to do like something stupid with like 17 tricks, a bunch of different like grabs and rail rides and all that stuff, and you'd feel awesome after it. And you get that feeling in this game. So you're like holding down, and then you're doing like a quarter circle with the left analog stick to start like a 360, and then you hit a rail, but you hit rail by holding left. So you do a different kind of rail slide, but then you let go, so you jump up in the air and then you hit right, and then you do another quarter circle to do another like spin. You can actually do spins by holding the left and right top like shoulder buttons as well. And you just get into this like rhythm, and the fact that you're always hitting the X button to land your trick, it almost becomes like it's almost like a Guitar Hero game, like where you get into this groove where you're just like doon 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 boom, and it's like, wow, that felt really awesome. I really like this game. It scares me that this is actually not going to get as many people playing it as I think should, because it is a $10 download on the Vita of all places. It might as well be on the Wii U, because not a lot of people buy games on the Vita. A lot of people just play the free games on PlayStation Plus. But if you have a Vita, and if you've ever liked any Tony Hawk game in the past, you owe it to yourself to pick this one up. At least play the demo. It is amazing. It is amazing. And it's like this retro 8-bit pixel art. It is just so much fun. So that's Ollie Ollie.
One thing that looks really interesting to me about this game is, and listening to you talk about it, is how complex it is.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think that 2D it's not a side scroller, but 2D games lose some of their complexity, and this is a perfect example of that not always being the case. And
no, like the addition of the X button, it just totally changed the game, because it could be just like Tony Hawk, where it's like keep flapping the stick wherever you want and hitting random buttons, and you do these crazy moves. But this one, you actually have to be aware of the timing. Like if you don't hit X, you could do 17 amazing tricks, but you miss the X at the end, and you've just destroyed your score from being 50,000 points to 7. And you feel really, really bad at the end of the day if that ever happens. But yeah, like and they add levels of kind of complexity on top of it. So the move list is huge. So there you go into the Trictionary, and it tells you how to do all the different moves. And you can do moves just by simply hitting up, down, left, or right. But there's like quarter circle. Like if you want to do a big heel spin, you have to hold back and then do a half circle towards the front, and then hit the L button to do a big spin heel. If you want to do a laser flip, you do that move without hitting the left shoulder button. If you want to do a backside shove it, you hold down, and then you do a quarter circle forward and let go. And so it's basically just stick directions and quarter circles. So it's almost like I don't know. It's almost like a Street Fighter.
Yeah, it sounds like a fighter. That's what I was just thinking.
Which is really bizarre. But yeah, it's so much fun. And the really great thing is all the missions that you get more and more difficult, which is obvious. But it's just the things that they ask you to do are really crazy. So like there's this one. where you can't, say for, I'm looking at Junkyard 4, and one of the missions is no grinds in the first 300 meters. So you can't grind a rail in the first 300 meters of the game. Doesn't sound like a big deal, except these levels aren't just skating forward. There's like stairs and things down. So you're going to have to do like a crazy long jump right at the edge of the stairs and properly land it to not like screw up and die. So to get that mission, it's really hard. There's other ones where you have to grind certain types of rails, or you have to collect certain items that are floating in the level. I'm only up to the third set of worlds, and it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of them, and then each of them has amateur, pro, and rad. There's something called spots, which you can basically turn any of the missions. You turn on the spot mode, and then you have one trick line to get a high score as possible. So you have to do a continuous trick from start to finish. You don't have to do it right at the beginning, but when you start your trick, you have to keep doing it, and then your score gets posted up on a high score boards, and you can compete with your friends that way. There's also a daily grind, which is a mode where every day there's a new daily grind, and you compete with everybody on the high score. So you play it to get as high a score as possible, and you compete with every single person that owns a copy of this game. So I don't know, it's really cool. Prometheus in the chat room saying, how is the soundtrack? It's okay. It's not like Tony Hawk. You're not going to get any like Offspring screaming in your ear as you play it or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know, it's fun. Here, I'll turn it on. So here we go. We'll be playing it, and it's a lot more atmospheric.
Okay. Which adds to the art style.
That was me just falling down a huge rail and then skidding across the ground with my face. You're not supposed to do that, by the way. That is not a thing to do with this game. But yeah, there really isn't any music. It's kind of the... Oh, and I'm going to die there. It's just kind of, depending on the world that you're in, you get a little bit of music in the background, which really kind of dies down when you play the level. But you get a lot of the atmosphere of the kind of the world that you're playing in, which totally makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I really like this game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm going to be playing it for quite some time, I'm sure, because it has that kind of OCD trigger where you want to do better. You want to get all 5 missions. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So if you have a Vita, do definitely check it out. It's called Ollie Ollie, OLLI.
I am jealous. There's been so many good Vita games coming out here lately, especially.
That's right. You don't have a Vita. I forgot.
I had one. I bought one at launch. I got rid of it shortly after.
Don't blame me.
During the. Yeah. But I enjoyed it while I had it.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I've also played Sonic Lost World, which is horrible and is insulting to me as a gamer. And if you want to hear me talk all about it, you can check out the Nintendo Pulse podcasts, and you can do that over at vgpodcast.com. So let us know what you think of the show. This is going to about do it for episode 53, the first episode of what we're calling the Super Bonus Stage. We'll see how long that title sticks around. I don't know. Will, do you like it? I'm kind of nonchalant about it. I'm kind of not sold on it.
Well, honestly, there's some considerations that you need to make that don't affect me. I'm not that excited about, in all honesty. I just don't. Unfortunately, I think it will make a lot of sense to kind of your older listeners or people who have been listening for a while. But for anyone new, I may not understand it, and it just kind of a mouthful in that respect. But
yeah, that's how I feel. Maybe we'll rework this over the next little while. We'll see what happens. We'll throw it in the grinder and see what gets spit out as yummy, tasty sausage on the other end.
Well, at least early on, the show is going to be a little bit of an evolution, and so maybe the name will be at the very beginning too, right?
Exactly. All right, guys and girls that are listening, let us know what you think of the show. What do you think of the format? Do you like kind of what we've done, the changes we've made? Do you want more of something, less of something? Let us know. Hit us up at vgpodcast.com. email us at vgpodcast@gmail.com, or you can call our voicemail line, which is area code 505 VG Podcasts. Reach us on Twitter. I'm at Dasme, DASME on Twitter. Will, you're at Iliam, ILIAM, correct?
That's correct.
On Twitter. And for everybody that's been watching the live stream, thanks for sticking around to the bitter end. And Will has been, his camera has been on, it's been off, it's been purple, it's been scanlining like an old CRT. He's not in his normal podcast place. His computer is it's in a room that's being occupied right now. So this isn't going to be the
first and last time.
Yeah, this isn't going to be the way it is every time. So I can already hear some of the emails. It's like, yeah, it was great, but that video was so distracting. Don't worry about it. It's going to be changing like everything else. It's going to be a lot of fun for us to see how this show kind of evolves over the next few weeks and months and stuff.
Definitely. The best is yet to come.
Exactly. Our intro music is a song called Poppies by Roll Music. You can check them out. We'll post a link to that in the show notes as well if you want to hear more of this awesome chiptune artist. But until next week, Will, I think that's about it, man.
Well, it was a lot of fun. It was great. Can't wait till next time.
Yeah, we'll have to work on some new album art. We'll have to do some stuff. But I think this is a good start. Just getting back on the horse and podcasting our hearts out is a good start as any, I think, Will.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and staying subscribed. Wow. Apparently I need to stop talking. It's been a while since we last did a show, about a month. But thanks to everybody that is still hitting the RSS feeds. This will continue to now be a weekly show. There's going to be some changes, as we said, but if you want to hear more, you can subscribe. We can be found on iTunes or simply over at vgpodcast.com, where you can check out all of our other shows like the Touch Gaming on iOS, the Nintendo Pulse, which is all about Nintendo, and Will's show, Inside Disney Infinity, is on the network as well. If you want to check that out, you can look at it there and subscribe to it there as well, and you'll be able to find it on iTunes that way as well. So hopefully more will be coming in the future as well. So we got some big plans for some show ideas, and we love that you guys dig what we do here night in and night out on the VG Podcast Network. So thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you in about a week's time.
Bye everyone.
Later.